The following public service announcement has been brought to you by the leaders of YouTube and Facebook. Due to some recent circumstances that have come up on the platforms of Facebook, Google, YouTube, and Twitter, where certain channels are being pushed aside for the advancement of globalist corporate media that isn't exactly the most accurate when it comes to their reporting. YouTube creators such as myself here on the Survivor's Edge and on our new channel, The Theory, will be broadening our horizons to other channels, but we ask that, for those of you that want to keep watching us here on YouTube, when you subscribe, smack the notification bell. That way you can continue getting the contents of this channel. And if you want to move to see some of your other favorite content creators, as well as myself here on the Survivor's Edge and on The Theory, then please again follow us on our usual platforms, but also check us out on our new channels, which will go under the same names on the Minds, Gab, DTube, and BitChute platforms. Thank you for tuning into this public service announcement. Now back to our regular program.
Hey, welcome to another edition of The Gun Show here on the Survivor's Edge. And today we're going to be taking a look at the Glock 21. This is my personal firearm, and basically this is a .45 caliber weapon. And as you can see, practicing gun safety, there's nothing in the barrel and no magazine in the weapon. Now, obviously there's no external safety on this Glock, just as with any Glock. This one has the standard slight release, and unlike my wife's Glock 19, which has the enhanced slight release, which makes it a lot easier. I actually have to work at this one. Now, this along with my wife's Glock 19 were both used. Now, a lot of people say, you shouldn't buy used. However, I have put personally about 300 rounds through this gun since I've owned it, and I don't go shooting nearly as enough as a lot of people would say you should. I don't think you should try to pigeonhole yourself to going to the range all the time. One, it gets expensive, and two, you kind of get that handicap of, just trying to shoot at a stationary target when in reality that doesn't happen. However, I do dry fire quite often, which is what you're supposed to do. Now, what I've done to this one is I've added this pretty much an aftermarket rubber grip, which actually helps with the gripping of the firearm and helps me keep it stabilized when I shoot. Also, another reason why I like to buy used is because if anybody knows anything about firearms knows that night sights are not exactly the cheapest thing to purchase, and unless you know what you're doing installing it yourself, they're not exactly the cheapest to install either. So you're probably going to spend at least $200 for the sights and getting them installed. This one came with night sights instead of the standard Glock factory sights. Now, as you saw in the last video, my wife's Glock 19 had enhanced sight on the front and didn't have anything to distract her on the rear. So that's the difference. Now, this is a Gen 3, which the difference between the Gen 3 and the Gen 4s is that, like, like the Gen 2, Gen 1, when you loaded this weapon with a magazine, it automatically loads one into the chamber and slides closed, which is great for if you're in a firefight and you absolutely need to go ahead and get it in there as quick, get one in the chamber as quickly as possible to continue to fight. Now, difference between this and most 1911s. Now, I have seen some 1911s magazines with this, so that's why I said most. So, before you 1911 fanboys get crazy, trust me, I covered my bases and looked this up last time I was home and at the gun shop. But the Glock 21 carries a standard 13 round double stack magazine. Obviously, you see what I carry for personal protection. I do not use those at the range. Obviously, it's a waste of good ammunition. But yeah, this carries 13 standard rounds, and the average Glock mag usually comes with about three. It comes with 3 magazines, brand new. You can't always get that. Sometimes used, but they're not too terribly expensive. Now, on the other hand, I'm a big believer in. I carry obviously my 3 standard mags with me at all times, but I'm a big believer in the first person that runs out loses, and I don't intend to run out. I also carry 3 of these. These are extended magazines. I do not carry them on my person at all times per se. I do carry them in my get home bag. So on average, I have about 115 rounds on me whenever I'm away from home, just in case anything happens. Like currently, we have riots going on in Memphis right now. So if you have anything like Memphis, Baltimore, Ferguson, the LA riots in '92, so on and so forth, and you're far from home, but you need to get through these areas to get home, then you want to have as much as you can going into those areas. So that's a quick overview of the Glock 21. And like I said, I'm not going to go through the whole breakdown. There's plenty of videos on that on YouTube and elsewhere on the internet, so you can find those at your leisure. But this is just a review of some of the weapons in our arsenal, and this one. And so we're going over this, and now we're going to head out to the range. So we'll see you guys there.
Okay, here we are at the range where I am shooting the Glock 21. Now, when in this part of the video, what I'm doing is I'm actually working on the basics: stance, breathing, aim, trigger pull, keeping myself from basically psyching myself out with anticipating the recoil, so on and so forth. Most of you shooters, whether you're novice, professional, or even beginner, um, once you learn, especially the novice and the advanced shooters, know what I'm talking about in regards to making sure you have these basics and reinforcing them over and over again. But as you can see in this video, um, control the weapon is paramount. It is a very smooth weapon to shoot. Compared to the 1911, they're both equally smooth. The 1911, I'll say, was actually more. I was actually more shocked by that one, is how smooth it is, based on what it's made out of, which is a completely metal gun. But the Glock 21 is impressively smooth, and not everybody can handle a 45 caliber weapon. Um, my wife can't. My daughter can. So, uh, it really depends on the person, what they can handle. And I'm thinking about adding a 10 millimeter, probably the Glock 20, to my inventory. Now, in this part of the range visit, I'm using a target I've never used before when it comes to shooting a handgun. I've never used the hostage target. I've used it with my rifle, but it's a different feeling because the energy from the rifle uh, is basically being absorbed by your shoulder. So your body's absorbing more of the recoil versus a handgun where it's all in your hand. So your chances of missing are greater with the handgun. So let's check out how I did. I'll tell you now, I hit the hostage twice, which I guess for the first time is not actually that bad. But I did miss completely once. So you guys will check this out and let me know what you think. Okay, real quick, I will throw in a side note. The one thing I try to work on every time I go to the range is accuracy more than the number of rounds that I can actually send down the range in a quick succession. The reason I do that is because there's no point in what we call spray and pray if you're not accurately hitting your target, because you will use more rounds to try and hit a single target versus hitting it as accurately as possible and saving as many rounds as you can, because you never know when you'll need more rounds. Alright, well, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Survivor's Edge. Hope you guys enjoyed the second installment of the gun show. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Yes, I know I tore the guy's ear up, so he's going to have a problem hearing. But I'm going to work on aiming more toward the center. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Next episode, we're going to start working with our shotguns, so you guys see what kind of firepower we have for home defense. So you guys probably get some interesting ideas, probably for your own arsenal for home defense. Meanwhile, episodes of our new show, The Theory, which are currently in production, but we kind of hit a little snag. Found out we needed a new virtual studio, so we're still working on those so it can handle both shows. So please stay tuned for more, and hopefully we see you guys in the next installment of the Gun Show and some of our other episodes that are upcoming. And remember to always be prepared. And now you have the survivor's edge.
Yeah.